Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with Rogan Smith. Sorry about the delay. There was a traffic accident by Saint, as we say in the Bahamas, Machu.
Boy, I don't think I've ever experienced traffic like that in my entire life.
I spoke to a senior officer because I said to him, I don't know it can't be the accident was that bad. You know what I mean? Because it's a slow-moving area. It was probably a fender-bender type thing where people could have moved to the side. But having said that, they don't move because they're waiting for the policeman.
But they don't even have to anymore. Remember when they passed a law a couple of years ago saying you could just move? You don't have to stay there and wait for the police officer.
Well, that message hasn't gotten out.
Man, no, for real. It was publicized highly.
Well, then how are you going to determine who's at fault?
I guess you'll tell the policeman. I don't know.
I'm moving. These suckers around here is lie.
you just pull over and work it out amongst yourselves.
No. These fellas,
you can call the police.
Yeah, you
can.
Yes.
But they're saying
you can, if you're dealing with some people, you could.
Well, yeah.
But if you're dealing with some other people, just hold out right there.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna lie.
I think it's for in those cases where someone, even though you're not supposed to just admit fault if you're dealing with your insurance company. Yeah. But if somebody says, I was in the wrong, I hit you, whatever, we could move over to the side and work it out. But I don't think I've sat in traffic like that in a long time.
I've seen scenarios where people said to me, it happened to me. They give me the number and everything. No, but I was thinking about that. I don't think that's my fault,
That's true. After they already get home and they let their family and friends gas them up.
No, they didn't let no one. That was their plan.
No.
It isn't let.
No, man.
While they were telling you that, this is a known lie. They know, okay. Yeah, man. We get straight. Let me give you my number. That's if they give you the right number. Let me give you my number.
So you call it while you're right
there.
So
I call it. I call them later. Say, listen, how you doing? Listen, where could I get the car and the thing? Listen, you know something?
You know something, me and never good way to
on second thought, listen, man, I don't think that ran like that, Well, how did it go?
You mean you hit my parked vehicle? No.
And it's just, at that moment, you just become testicless. It just sinks in. Mm-mm. You just know, once they do that, it's just, so that's why people stay wait for the police.
Yeah, but man,
But the police gotta get the motorcycle people. Apparently that was like that for an hour.
That was
Apparently
crazy.
that was like from 4 o'clock, which means that the police didn't get there.
Wow. It takes like 6 to 8 minutes for me to get down here from work.
Yeah.
If that.
On a motorcycle.
That was crazy.
I don't care where they are, and they can't be that far away, because they can't be like all hanging together.
Probably they are on the highway.
They're not all
Remember
together.
When they used to be on Chesapeake? Is it Chesapeake Road?
I can guarantee you that there's got to be someone in the vicinity that
you should
could
be able to
there.
radio someone and say accident reported at St. Machu.
Well, this is another thing, Bahamians. See, like I called some people I know, right? And they were able to call me back later. But Bahamians don't call,
What?
Bahamians sit down and they griping up.
What are you talking about?
G up. They don't call.
They don't call who? The police?
Anyone.
So what are they doing?
No, the people in the accident will call.
Yeah.
But the people in the traffic, they ain't calling.
Because they assume that the person has already called the police.
I ain't assuming nothing. Because if they call the police, why taking as long? I know they call the police, but you need to bombard them.
That's on the police.
Yeah, you need to bombard them.
That's on the police.
Oh, God.
I know you boy. That's why when I saw I wasn't moving, I said, hold on, let me let you know, because you're coming from the bridge. You're coming from Paradise Island. That was just rough, man. Trying to get yourself
gridlock, huh?
That was gridlock traffic.
And I'm just so. Do you know? I saw something the other day. It said that if it's 90 degrees out, your car, when locked up, which it has to be, because if you dare to leave your windows open, you better leave it bare. Don't even leave them rug. Them rug.
Don't leave the steering wheel.
Just
don't leave a good rug.
It's 130 to 172 degrees inside. That's why these children die when they leave the children in the car. It's crazy, and I just think. I saw a movie. It's called 2012. You ever saw that?
Yes. That was they released it in 2012, I believe. Yeah.
The whole technology sounded good to me. The earth crust heating, the inner crust heating up so much that it becomes unstable.
Yeah.
Well, one good thing, everyone dies, and I ain't got no billion for the ticket. Hey, I got no billion for the ticket.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's what I got to start hanging with Bill.
Gates. Gates is me Bill.
I could be his little badge.
His what?
His little my age.
Bad? Oh!
Okay.
It's good I say it. You're so silly.
Because you gotta survive, man.
Mm-hmm. No. But when
out of my straight tie up and everything.
That's why when you have your car rolled up, like, you have to crack it a little bit.
No, when I come in, you mean when you park?
When you park, crack it just a little bit so some air can come out, and don't ever just turn on your air conditioner with the windows up.
No, I always turn it down.
Blast,
yeah.
You have to roll them down.
But I don't think the crack helps.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have those things. My car is the Japanese vehicle. You know, the thing with on the outside, so you could screw down the window a bit. You can't direct. What you call those things? Like a guard almost. It's like a rain guard. You could screw it down. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't like them.
I love them.
What I hate is one of those foils that you put in front. But they're always so much a headache.
They help a little bit, but you need to have tints and stuff like that. Yeah.
So
what's today? Monday?
Today is Monday. Candy's not going to be here today.
I'm sad about that.
Well, whatever. So you wrote a column. Now, I read it, and now I forgot what it was. What was it about?
I don't remember.
Tell me. No, you do remember, so stop lying. I can remember in a second. My head is like a sieve, you know.
Wake up and smell the marijuana.
No. That's what caused me to remember, because I'll remember it by heart.
No, that was the headline.
That was the marijuana.
Wake up and smell. Wake up and smell the marijuana.
I thought you said, wait till you start smoking marijuana. No, yeah. So, yeah, that was a good column. That was very good.
Thank you.
You boys will be out of business, yeah. But it's already happening. We talked about it a week, that weekend. You remember I told you I saw a thing on TV? Mm-hmm. It was like remarkable, you know. Why is everyone stealing my ideas? HBO is taking my ideas now.
And I steal your idea.
No, you stole it from HBO. But I'm saying, okay.
No, but you know what? That did spark my interest, though.
It's just common. It's common sense, right? It's common sense. So common sense people would.
You see, I give you a shout out.
I saw you give me a shout out.
Okay, there you go.
I don't like the part about delusional, but I'll leave it alone.
Well, you
I'm
said,
not delusional.
You said you're not acknowledging his win. So
I think you're
underestimating myself.
No, not underestimating. Underrating yourself. I don't think you should accept a cheating, lying fix.
It's a fix.
This is how we go, you know. It's like Junkanoo. So, do you think other countries are like that?
Yes.
I don't see that in the States that much.
What are you talking about?
But they, on the Academy Awards, they cheat, they lie.
I mean, people, they react in different ways. They say, they wanted a white person to win rather than a black person to win. There are ways of doing
those are just racist. We're not dealing with that.
No, but
I'm talking about, I see where they say, well, not enough black people got nominated.
No, even beyond nominated, if me and you are going up against if me and you are going up against each other and you're white and I'm black and you win, the black person, there are people who will say, oh, they only give it to him because he's white or whatever. They didn't want to give this person,
Yeah, I dismiss that as in the Bahamas we just go, they cheat. In other words, it's a fix, it's a lie, it's not even racism, it's lies. The mere fact that I didn't win means they cheated. Mm-hmm. It isn't even the other people, you know. It isn't the other people. It's when you yourself okay, who was nominated. Yeah. You go there with attitude. You got your shades on and everything. Yeah. Okay, and I want to talk about that. And then when you lose, not other people.
Other people ain't coming to
the
defense.
I said they cheat.
Right, but I ain't saying that.
But you would come on the I went to that damn Icon Awards, and they cheat me, eh? That's how you.
I never do that.
No, but that's how we are.
Yeah.
Right. We'll be back in a minute.
Funny.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with co-host Rogan Smith. And before I forget anything, I forgot to comment on the tattoo. Mm-hmm. Because did we have a show since the tattoo?
That was Thursdays. Yeah, Thursdays.
So we didn't comment on the tattoo. I can't imagine it.
Thursday? Who was our guest?
Simeon wasn't. Lynn.
Oh, Lynn
Holowesco. So, and we had other things to talk about, but I have to talk about the tattoo. First of all, I just want to make appeal. I know it's not going to happen. But I've appealed for a lot of things in my life. I appeal for the Sunday shopping. I appeal for the relaxing of the marijuana, the Thingam laws, numbers. I appeal for the relaxation of the marijuana
and
laws.
And the elimination of us filling out those
customs forms. Yeah. Uh-huh. So certain things, and the KYC thing. Mm-hmm. I got to appeal for this one. Just the last one.
Is it?
Again. This is the last one.
I don't think it is.
It's the last one, man.
For this week.
No, this is the last one. But I'm not gonna go on a thing.
Okay.
I'm not going to go on a cause like a mission. Right. Let's get rid of that too, man. Okay?
I'm with you.
First of all, let's get rid of the castle that we name after people. So this year was, it was the Miles Monroe Castle. Mm-hmm. Okay? Just let's get rid of that. It's not his castle. It's not even a castle. Let's face it, okay?
Until they would name it the Edward
Castle. Trust me. If it's mine, I'm going to push it down since it's mine. Now, let's get rid of the castle. We keep on saying we wish to get rid of the colonial thing, right? Mm. But we building a castle. If we really, and I don't want to be offensive here, if we really want to show our indigenous nature, and I'm not opposed to historical, holding on to history and all that. Let's go with some huts. Put a hut, back from Africa, and come to the hut, okay, with the cars. But let's not do any of that. But even more so, we have to completely reform the program. You never want to be putting me in charge of that program, because a couple things are going to get immediately
significantly shortened.
Okay? First of all, ecumenical, you're on your own. Okay? You can have it, man, but you're on your own. I actually saw a change of wardrobe. Our man, when he did the speech, Delton, he had on a big robe.
See, I didn't even.
And then when he came to do the flag, the robe was gone. It's like a wedding. You have like your wedding thing and then your thing.
Or like the Grammys.
You change.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, I don't know how Christian we are. First of all, we're not including any other faiths. So you have about 14 of the Christian faith, of all the denominations of Christian faith. We got no Jewish people there.
Yeah, if you go to a Muslim country then. Like
no. In the U.S., when they have ecumenical, they have all faiths represented. Secondly,
if you go to Saudi Arabia,
I don't need to hear 13 prayers.
The nation is in need of prayers.
No.
They always
hold on.
What you doing?
I just try to fix myself. Okay.
I thought you were going to start off a reenactment.
Hold on. First of all, one of the things that I'm going to ban, and it's just me, is this: when you do the prayer, you're limited to 3. I don't know.
It's drowning.
Oh, see you there. When you do a prayer, now this is a rule that I'm putting down, and I'm lobbying for this. You're allowed a maximum of 3 Father Gods.
Oh, Father God.
Okay?
Father God.
You know what Father God is? It's like They're not prepared.
Come stay.
Okay? They're not. With this bag, I can't see Rogan. They're not put in the chair.
Come sit, man.
They're not prepared. So Father God is like Mm-hmm. But instead they fill it in with a Father God.
Father God.
Okay? There are too many costumes. A range of costumes with the clergy.
Give me water, please, Candy.
Okay? It's just too much, man. So that's the first thing. Now, the second and the most important thing is this. If you don't have a full-blown army, okay? Don't try it. Don't try the military presence thing, okay? It's just not becoming.
It looks scrappy.
It looks sad. That's what it looks like, okay? You can't bring on all your equipment, okay? All right. They had a thing, like a James Bond, like a Mission Impossible. They had a picture, a film of Tellis Bethel at the command center looking, and then they had a guy in fatigues. Well, Commander, we found that there's some terrorists in Exuma, and we're tracking him down. Then the next thing you know, they got I don't know if it's a male, but if it gets a defense force mode, they're rolling off these 2 armored cars, because they only got 2 armored cars onto Exuma. Next thing, they coming out through Miles Monroe Castle. Okay? And the terrorists. Now, if you're going to have a terrorist,
that was hilarious to me.
Okay?
I had to change
the terrorist has to be a maximum of around 2 to 220 pounds. It cannot be a 500-pound plus terrorist that you chasing down. It's not fair to the terrorists. Huh?
He can move though. I was watching that.
Yeah, but you can't have a 500-pound guy being chased by an armored carrier.
He can move though. I was in awe at how he can maneuver.
And on top of that, the terrorist can't be Bahamian.
Yes, he can.
No. No, it's a farce.
He could be working for.
And what did I tell you when Simeon was here?
Al-Qaeda.
That we were going to have someone run down a criminal as a celebration of our independence.
You should have called Bishop Hall and say, see what I tell you?
It's nonsensical. How can you be celebrating your independence
with this?
You know, we have a lot of crime.
Exactly. I've never seen anything like it
but
in my life.
Thing, that's a new twist, you know. That's just this year. They never bring that before.
I can imagine, like, when they were sitting inside the room, coming up with this new idea for the 45th.
And they kept the people in the uniform and, well, you know, we have spotted our intelligence. Our intelligence tells us that there's a terrorist in Exuma. What is he doing in Exuma? Going to regatta?
Just how he talking, going to swim with the swimming pigs. Just how he talking. This is just how it was. I was watching Lifetime, and I went there.
And they got the film, and the boats racing through the water, and like all the equipment, all 5 boat, all 2 armor carrier, and this the classic. And we're getting them by land, by sea, and by air. They sent off one prop plane and said that's our Air Force. It's sad. You're supposed to keep. In fact, you know what you're supposed to do? Keep that crap undercover, so the terrorists don't see you and got nothing. Okay. Now they know, listen, man. Look here, don't worry about them. We can walk there. We'll be right back.
You just couldn't wait to get that out,
I couldn't wait to get that out. Do you know what commands say what they're saying? No, you can't do the report now. You can do the report. She can do the report on the thing. Anyway, Ken, what has happened is that, unfortunately now, all of our enemies are people who would put us under attack. Your various countries in CARICOM. CARICOM, they don't even need to check for us about this. What you call it?
Why are you saying CARICOM?
Because it's West Indian.
CARICOM.
You know, they don't need to get permission from us now to have open borders. They can just take us over. Because everyone knows our complete military secrets. And not only that, they know it all in Exuma today. So anyway, it's just funny, and I think we first of all, you think that there'd be more of a turnout if it was a daytime event, like when I say daytime,
I don't know that I won't be out there when that's 12.
No, like say 6ish, start
right after work.
Yeah, and have a concert. You know, the flag thing, I don't know this reenactment.
I like that. I think that's the only part I really do like is the reenactment, to be honest with you.
Okay, fine.
I love that historical aspect.
And I know Lady Pendling very well, and I'm going to say to her, because I think it's, tiring for her, don't do every 6 person. Just do like 2 a line. Because I know you. What are you saying? Hi, nice uniform. I don't even know what you're saying.
Yeah, I wonder. No, that's a question.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Because the Queen, I don't know what she's saying. The Queen just be hunched over. She ain't checking for them.
Great. Okay.
Yes. Very, very tall. So
small talk.
It just seems that we don't really. I don't know how connected we are to that anymore. Do you know what I'm saying?
I guess people who love that though.
The whole. I don't know.
I don't like the military part of it. Yeah. I mean, I just think it's
rolling
silly.
out the police cars.
I just think
it's. See, here's the deal.
But people love it.
It's not grand enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
like you had like a North Korean
if you
military.
Had some missiles. Where are the missiles?
Slingshot.
Police car? Come on.
If you had like the military, like you ever seen North Korea's military when they walk it, or when they run alongside Kim Jong Un's car and stuff like that's like.
They have. And if I recall, I don't want to be wrong, so please call me and correct me. 1 fire engine? That's what you're bringing out? Come on. Okay. It just seems petty. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to belittle anyone but just skip that part.
But what about the people?
We don't need to see the dogs.
I don't need to see it, but there are people who love that.
Have a different day for that. Have a day for people who want to go see that.
So have you ever gone out to a tattoo?
It's not to me. Yeah, listen. It's not an independent. It doesn't make me feel independent. It's not a celebration of independence to me.
What could they do out there that would make you feel...
I don't know, but you know what they can't do?
Well, then you need to
catch terrorists from Exuma.
You need to come up with some suggestions then.
Just have a concert.
I would love to see
by the
a
way, you know
concert.
what? The concert was great. You didn't see it.
No,
They
I
had a
didn't watch
concert.
that.
The staging was great, and they basically had artist after artist come on and do like one song each. They had about 10 or 15 artists who came on. Some did tributes to like Ronnie Butler and to Therese Hepburn and Johnny Camp.
Well, I missed that.
And so the concert now that
like
made me
that.
feel this something Bahamian, this our things type thing. Okay, that's what you do. You know, you have a big concert. You have some.
But what about
You
the
know, we like our
aspect of
fritters.
it?
Throw some fritters out there, huh?
I said, well, what about people want to talk about or at least showcase some historical aspect of it. That's why I like the flag being lowered and raised. I like that portion of it. Concert, I'm down with that. Tattoo, I never cared for, even when I was younger. So I don't know. Maybe it's need fresh ideas. But again, there are people who love every single aspect of what they do out there. There are people who are in love with that.
Okay, all right, good.
So
you know what? You're right. And guess what?
So
I don't have to go, right?
Right. They shouldn't amend it just because me and you ain't feeling the tattoo.
But I would like to make some suggestion. This will be the last topic on this. By the way, our guest this afternoon is going to be Adrian Gibson. Hopefully the traffic has died down.
Boy,
well, the traffic is cleared now up here, so it's good.
Maybe he
but
forgot.
It was cleared. It was cleared. No, he even forgot. I'm going to just make one plea. It's a plea out of national security. It's not for my selfish dislike or whatever. Please don't show all of our military might or non-might to all of our enemies.
Non-might.
Okay?
To what? To who?
To our enemies.
You think they tune in the ZNF?
They are. They're looking. They're always looking. The embassy right down the road, you know. The Chinese embassy. I don't know if they knew before. Hey? I don't know if they knew before, although I think we got the tanks from the Chinese government, so they knew. But I think now they feel that they can invade us any time now. You know, the U.S. Embassy.
Did you watch 60 Minutes last night?
With the girl with the piano?
No, I didn't see that part. Do you know they have different segments or whatnot?
Yeah, I didn't see
But
it.
they were talking to some historians about these monuments that are being taken down across the United States, anything they feel was racist or tied to.
Remember I mentioned that to you?
This
You and I were
new
talking about
broadcast,
that.
though.
Yeah, no, that's old. That came after the Charlottesville thing. Those were new old things.
With the men on the horses and stuff like that?
Yeah, the Charlottesville. You remember Charlottesville when they had the march
Yes.
and the people ran?
They had this one come on right after that?
That came on after that. Yeah.
Wow, that's the first time I saw that.
Because it's all with the Confederate flag and the champions of the Confederate War in southern cities.
Right. What's your thought process on them taking those down, though?
I'm not big on that.
Me neither.
You see, but having said that, now there are certain things. You know, this is why when you and I spoke to each other on this subject, because we were talking about, Sir Stafford Sands and all these. It's very gray. It's not black and white.
That's what the guy was saying, how we're judging things based on our current morals and our current thought processes.
Now, I don't believe you should have any statue of Hitler. Okay? I don't. Come on. That's clear. Okay? Now, some would say, okay, but wouldn't Hitler be the equivalent of, say, slavery? My thing is that if you're in the South and you felt that you were fighting for the cause, now the cause was slavery, this is where it gets, tricky. So because you know what? The problem is it's like an onion. Once you start peeling that stuff back, then next thing you know, Martin Luther King was a philanderer, so let's take him down.
Right. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
And I think there was a historian, he was on there, and he said, listen, I'm not, even though he doesn't like the statues, he says, I'm not a fan of taking them down. He said, but I think there needs to be a footnote of epic proportions placed near these statues so that people could understand, the context.
Also, the location is important, too. So, like, if it's like in a city capital, like a capital building, which is supposed to be representative of all the people, that might not be the place. You know what I mean? The Confederate flag, I have no issues with that being taken down. To me, that's like a swastika. You're not going to fly the German swastika in Germany and say, we're just remembering the good old times. No. It's just too painful for a lot of people.
Well, not for a lot of people, because some white folks, I'm
saying it's not painful for them, but it's painful for a lot, right? It is a very gray area. Maybe they should just be relegated to museums, where you go and see these things as opposed to public spaces. I don't know.
That was a very interesting segment that they had, though. Like I said, I want to download that to my computer because I really enjoyed that, just hearing the different perspectives.
Like, for instance, there are people, as we speak here, would say we should take down Queen Victoria. I don't think that's the case. I don't feel that we should. I just don't feel that. I think that it was a time of colonies, and that's what happened. And now we should erect other statues to our leaders. Like we shouldn't have just the head of Somalo, as opposed to we should have a whole body.
Yeah.
So it's all very great. It's how I don't know how important it is. I know that sounds trite to say that.
What?
To focus on those. I don't know how important it is to focus on things like moving statues. I don't know what I think people pass by those things on a daily basis and don't even care. They don't even notice it.
Statues?
Yeah. Like Queen Victoria. Most people don't even know who that is. Yeah. They just think that's the lady in front of the Parliament. So I don't know. It's there are people who are very emotional about it.
Yeah.
But it's history.
It is history.
It's history.
I don't like this rewriting of history. Like I'm not, like you said, I'm not a fan of removing it.
Yeah.
But I agreed with that historian that I think there should be a footnote just so people understand.
And or maybe placement is important. Columbus is in front of Government House. To me, it's a big deal. Columbus is a big deal. The discovery of the Western world. Did he kill Lucayans? Yes. Did Shaka Zulu kill a bunch of people? People conquered. That's what they did. I don't know. It's a bizarre thing.
Yeah.
But we'll be back. Our guest this afternoon is Adrian Gibson. I don't know if he has any part in that tattoo service where a whole military might has been revealed to the world, including our Air Force, which consists of one twin prop plane. And they went after the terrorists in Exuma. Were you at Independence?
You got to pull the mic.
Were you there?
Pull the mic.
Ed, good to see you, man. I was at Long Island.
Which I don't know. I don't even want to know what the hell y'all doing down there. Okay. All right. We'll be right back. This is Ed Fields calling from Kendrick Williams Castle. And it's one-dimensional. It's not even a castle. But you think, let me ask you a question, Rogan Smith, and of course, Mr. Gibson can chime in, but he's political, so he has to be cautious. Do you think the people who are doing this enjoy this, or they're made to do it?
What people? You mean
like the marches and thing?
The police officers?
Yeah, the customs and all that.
They love doing that.
You think they'd like to march like that?
That's big. They can't wait for that to show up.
It's hot, but it's be hot out there.
But we love attention. What are they saying?
Huh?
What are they saying?
They
I guess
just
that's
know
their
what
orders.
to do, but
yeah.
they just, Woman! Anyway, it's good to have our friend here with us who organized the tattoo. Listen, I really enjoyed the concert. It was a good concert. It was very well staged, Rogan. Nice lighting effects, everything.
Credit belongs to Mr. Humes.
And in fact, you know what? If they didn't have the tattoo, then they could have brought the fans onto the field, and they would be closer to the concert. Now that it's like 100 yards away. Anyway, so Adrian Gibson is chairman of the Water and Sewerage, and he's also the MP for Long Island. How you doing? How are things
good,
going?
Man. It's good. It's always good to be here.
Yeah. What do you have to report to us?
Good to see you.
We got 30 minutes because you got caught in that traffic too, eh?
Boy, listen, that's crazy. I'm trying to figure out some.
It was a car accident by St. Matthews.
Yeah.
So you probably were caught up.
Man,
if you're coming from
crazy.
West, yeah.
I had to remind myself that today wasn't a school day.
Yeah. No, this is not even good.
Even if
this
it
is
were,
bad.
it wouldn't
This
have been
is
like
bad.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
So first of all, how are things in Long Island? Last time you were here, we made you. I don't remember if it was post-election or previous election, but I think it was post. Yeah, because previous election you lie and say you wasn't running. So it was post-election when you came, and you said the three things: water, because you worked to the water and storage, airport.
Yes.
I think there was one other thing, and I can't remember what it was, but it was definitely those two.
Yeah.
Those are the big
Okay,
ones.
what's happening with the water?
Well, the first phase of the water contract has been signed. Today, for example, I'm happy to report that we had a little conversation with the CDB, and the first installment is going to be issued to the winning bidder.
And Caribbean Development Bank?
Yes, it's going to be issued to the winning bidder. So that first phase will roll out. We're looking at some other things as well, not only in Long Island but throughout the archipelago.
So let me ask you a question. The water, they didn't have it? I thought that was done years ago.
No, only in two little segments. Two segments, and that was it. The majority of the island, even with this phase that's going in now, will still not have water. What we are trying to do is cover the most populated settlements, you see?
Yeah.
And so this phase will cover a set. We're going to look at another phase.
Well, so people have wells?
Yes. The other phase will I guess, cover a large swath of people again, which then would mean that the majority then, with the second phase, would have potable water, but there'll still be a good number of persons and houses that wouldn't.
So they have electric wells, or they pull in water from the hole or whatever?
Well, you have pumps on the well, and then of course you have people drawing. No, pumps like water pumps, Maya pumps. Right, then you have people who draw the water from the well. As a kid, we had both the pump. Sometimes the pump would cut out on you, and you got to go and draw the water out of the well.
Like them kind of people, okay.
Yeah, man.
I used to thought that was very romantic and sexy to have a well, the little house.
Let me tell you, it's far from that. As someone who was what we call tote water from the well.
I know.
You mean it wasn't the well was not in your direct yard? You had to walk to the water?
Oh, no, it was in the yard at the back of the kitchen.
Yeah.
And
it's still a process.
So showering, that
you gotta go down, you gotta grab it out, and then.
Did you shower like on Gilligan's Island, like you put a thing and then someone put the water in the bucket?
And I gotta take you to Long Island now.
No, I've been to Long Island.
We usually in those days, usually bathe.
Yeah.
In the tub. In the tub.
Yeah.
As opposed.
I've been to Long Island.
The tin tub.
Yeah, the tin tub too.
My impression,
you graduated a bit as time went on.
Yeah, my Long Island friends, and I have a lot of them, are going to like me for saying this, but people had told me about this thing called the Long Island Regatta. And it was very romantic. It was very romantic. Sounded very, it sounded big. It sounded big, Adrian Gibson. So one day I was in Exuma, and someone say, "Hey, let's go over to the regatta." So I was like, "Yeah, man, let's go." First of all, when I got to Long Island, I noticed there were no trees taller than me. Okay, so I couldn't find no shade. That's number one. Then we go to the regatta site, which I thought was going to be like some sort of stadium. Okay, and I was quite surprised at the sparseness of it.
When was this? What year was this?
This was in the 2000s.
Now you got to come back to Long Island.
Would they have a stadium now?
The site has been revamped. It's a beautiful place. We have lots of shade and cabanas and stores.
See, you guys from Long Island, you romanticize. Listen to this.
Listen, it's the best island in the Bahamas.
I went to.
Come back.
I went down there, and the guy rushed me into his house. Man, Ed, come on, I gotta show you something. He took me into the back of his yard to show me his salt on a piece of cardboard.
You weren't impressed?
So I was like, it's a guy it's cocky. That kind of commercial. I was like, yeah, that's salt. That was it. And then he says to me, "Boy, look here, I can't wait to move back here. Eh? I wish I could stay here." I said, "Give yourself a couple of days."
I think what makes you proud about it, Ed, is
proud.
Imagine this, Long Islanders. It's our home. That's your but then when you come to Nassau and you find yourself buying dilly on the side of the road, buying Gnap, buying peanuts, buying pepper,
having a salt
buying
shaker,
sour, buying salt, what I'm saying?
Salt shaker.
You're then like, whoa.
Yeah.
You get to appreciate those little buying gooseberries, buying sea grapes.
We don't have gooseberries.
We took those things for granted.
You still have gooseberries in Long Island?
Of course.
Okay.
We took those hog plum, Gnap. We took those things for granted.
Yeah, well, we trade that off for things like food store. But the thing is,
we have a food store too. We have a food store too, man. We have not a food store. We have food stores.
Yeah, listen. I remember one time I went down there. This was the second time I went. I went to Clarencetown.
Yeah, that's the capital.
And again, I thought it was going to be pretty, cool and everything. It was a Red Cross fair. And I went into this place, and there were a lot of ladies sitting around, and they had pies. A lot of pies, and they just stared at me. So I just sought refuge at the commissioner's house and watched satellite.
You should get fired for that, man.
They were staring at me.
You were supposed to go and patronize them, man.
No, I bought the stuff. I bought the pie.
Yeah.
And then I went to the commissioner's house and watched the satellite.
You bought the pie, Ed?
I bought the pie, Adrian.
All right.
So he said, sure, I bought the pie. I bought the damn pie.
Well, they were probably staring to have a conversation, man. They were looking at, we are very friendly. We're very friendly people. We're very friendly people.
I'll tell you another thing. This one could get you fired now. Okay. I'll never forget. I went to something and it was like a rally or a concert or something. I'm not prejudiced. I'm not anything. I've never seen that much red here in one spot in my life. No, I'm serious. I was just like, it's like, because they go into the sea a lot for the fishing and all that, and it gets a certain tone
of all shades. It happens. It happens to all shades.
Yeah.
He'll go to Long Island. He'll have everything red. That's just being in the water.
In the water.
Yeah,
man.
that's
I was like,
that's a fisherman.
Where am I? Oz. Anyway, so
it's
no, they're good people. I know a lot of Long Island folks, so they can. My people from Long Island. Well, they're originally from Sweden. You're aware of that. The Turnquist. Turnquist. The Swedish sailors passed by.
Yeah.
Bam, and they turned to Quest.
No.
I'm serious. They even tracked their thing.
You do know, like, slaves took the names of their slave owners as well.
It's also where the sailors passed by. They tracked their thing.
I thought the Turnquist was from Scotland.
No, that's a Swedish name. Turnquist.
Are you sure?
Positive.
All right.
Yeah. So anyway, enough about the ancestry. So now you got the people of water?
We got the water coming through.
Yeah.
We're looking to do another phase.
Okay.
And in the deep south, we can't really run any pipes, so we're probably going to...
How do you mean you can't run any pipe?
Because it's so sparsely populated and wouldn't justify the expense.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to put tanks in each area, let's say 5,000-gallon tanks, and gravity feed them.
Yeah.
With respect to the airport,
what's happening with the port?
We are happy to know that is in the budget. The Minister of Works, who is a mentor and a great friend, a great man on the whole, he has given me an assurance, and we are beginning that this year. It's going to be
Deadman's Key?
Yes, it's likely going to be in Deadman's Key. That's the more likely site.
That's where it is now, right?
Yeah, there's two. There's Stella Maris and Deadman's Key, and then there's also the thought that it's possible that something else could be looked at. But Deadman's Key is going to most likely be where the airport goes in.
So what is the big issue? Because, it's an airport, but what's the big issue why people say it's not equipped?
The runway is too short.
Yeah.
Okay.
The so-called terminal is a chicken coop, and there's no parking.
You know what I like about those out island airports?
Yeah.
It's just a thing, like a little shack, and then you have your chicken thing on the outskirts, like where you buy some chicken in the bag and thing. They still have that, right?
You'll have to drive out to the front of the road to get to the little eatery.
Eatery, correct.
But that airport is very important for our livelihoods.
Right, because you need airlift, right?
Yes.
But is there demand? You're missing out on demand?
Huh?
Are you missing
The demand is there? Yeah.
There's a lot of people who want to come to Long Island. What frustrates them, because Long Island is still that place where they still have that native down-home feel. What frustrates folks is the inability to get there with ease. When you have to stop to this place and then catch another flight from this place to that place,
direct flight to
there's
Long
a
Island?
lot of expense.
Bahamas doesn't go there.
What happens? Yes, Bahamas does, but what happens is you have to stop in Nassau or in Exuma.
Okay.
And you probably have to lay over to wait on another flight because
Are
you
you
got limited
kidding?
airlift
Yes,
going in.
that's true.
Okay.
You see?
Right.
And then, of course, only certain sizes could go in.
Runway too short.
The runway is short.
Right.
And the facility isn't really that attractive.
Right. Okay. So there's not enough demand now, though, what you're saying to me, for a daily flight to Long Island by a private airline, by a private.
There is demand now. In fact, I think that would bode well for Long Island. Now that the water's going in and the airport is supposed to happen, and by the way, it's going to be a modular airport which allows you to expand.
Right.
Unlike the situation in Abaco where you outgrow it and now you got to go over and do the process over.
They have capacity to expand in Abaco, though, right?
No. What happened is they didn't build it in that way, so I think they have to make some major adjustments.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But I think once people know that that's happening, water, airport, and other infrastructural development, they'll start building.
They have lights, they got electricity, right?
Yeah, but they'll start building and putting new things in place. Like we need road work to be done as well, because the roads, some of the roads aren't in the best shape.
A lot of work to do down there.
Yeah. And Rogues, I think you've been down there in recent times, right?
No, I haven't been there since 2002, embarrassingly so.
Yeah.
So I'm due for a visit. But
drainage issues, culverts and drainage
When you
wells.
come back, let me know if there's any tree taller than you, then I'll know.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
so they
judge.
probably.
I don't want to go by you and Adrian.
Ed tree is taller
taller
than
than
you.
me? Okay,
Definitely,
okay.
man. Definitely.
In the Deadman's Key area?
Throughout.
Okay.
Have you been throughout from end to end?
I just went to a lot of places where because one person lives there, that's the name of the town.
Tell you what, Ed, when you come back down, you come back down and we'll go fishing.
Okay.
You know?
Would that be in Gibson's?
No, man.
See, every town is named. See, this is how the brothers did it, right? Every like 50 yards or 100 yards, a person has a house.
Smith,
Adrian
Williams,
Gibson have a house.
Fields.
Okay. Then down the road is Smith. Then down the road is Williams. So now, where are you now? Oh, we're in Gibson's. We're in Smith's. Isn't that the case?
In some cases, yes. My grandpa, Gibsons, are from the south. That's Turnbull. My grandma, the Smiths, they're from the north. You know, love, attracted.
Yeah. To cross the Hatfields
and then,
and
of course,
McCoys,
my grandpa, he went to one side to help assist with her dad. They were supposed to move up, but it didn't happen.
Right.
And so they stayed in
What's
the
the name
north.
of the town?
Turnbull is in the south, where my grandpa
Turnbull?
is from. Turnbull.
Turnbull.
It's off. It's a corner off Clarence town.
But that's a town.
Turnbull. That's like
how many people live in Turnbull?
I don't know how many live there now. I would say
population
right now, maybe 20 or so. But back then, in his days,
it was up to about 30, 35.
No, man, in his heyday, you're talking 50, 70 people.
50, 70.
His family alone had but 20.
But listen, man.
Those were
those
were the days when families had a lot of children.
Yeah, because that's because y'all ain't no satellite. Now, let me say something to you.
I'm not gonna go with you on this one.
I gotta ask you all this. This is humor. You gotta go with humor for me. I think that the activity starts very young down there, doesn't it?
Oh my God!
No, I'm just asking. It's a question.
Answer.
Come on, man.
I can't answer that question.
No.
Okay. No comment.
No.
That's a politician answer.
No
comment.
It's a
we'll be back.
Answer.
I could tell you something off the air.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. GG says. Yeah. We'll be right back. Okay. Okay. So we got. We can talk about that. I'm one of the biggest critics of the press, but I'm just going to say it. You don't have to respond. Okay. I'm one of the biggest critics of the press, Rogie, I can tell you. But in this case with the Governor General thing, I think we're going a little overboard. I think an error was made. Regardless of how it was made or why it was made is not even relevant. It was made. We all make errors. The track record, I think, of the reporter in question is stellar. He's a good reporter. He made an error. Someone made an error along the way. There was probably a miscommunication to I assume thing, I thought thing, and it ain't gonna happen no more. But it's an error. You get over the error. The apology is written. It's corrected, and boom, move on. I don't think it's anything malicious.
No, I don't think it's malicious.
I don't think it's malicious. So, you move on. But, I know the politician wanted to strike, but I wouldn't comment on that. Now, except that we're going to attribute some other things to you. Now, what is happening? You were in support of the budget.
Yes.
And, I've not ever seen this happen before. But I've never seen the Prime Minister or anyone, for that matter, to go around doing a tour to explain. We talk about communication and the importance of doing communication. I think on the ground level, going to the out islands and to all these communities is very important.
Well, it's damage control. I mean,
you could say it's damage control. You could say it's PR. I mean, you got to explain it.
But it is, but I don't know that. First of all, I don't know that the increase in VAT would have been taken so easily by the Bahamian public.
Never.
And that never happens.
Right.
But I don't think that ordinarily he would have wanted to go on this speaking tour to explain it. So.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we say we want it to be explained, so it's being explained, so that's what's happening. But the point I'm making is, I'd never heard that before, and I think I could be wrong on this, but I think the feeling I get is that most Bahamians get it. They may not like it, but I think they get it. We've had some guests on the show, for instance. Well, yeah, but you also you don't have a choice on a lot of things, but you have a choice of like really pushing back really hard and look what's happening in Haiti now with the riots and all that. Or you can say, you know what, we don't have a choice, but we don't have a choice in a lot of ways, right? We don't have a choice because it's already implemented, and if we're going to not end up like Haiti and other places, we don't have a choice either. So I think people are resolved to it. What's your feeling from Long Island, the Long Island folks?
I think the people of Long Island support the government's plan to increase the VAT. I was on the ground a few weeks ago with the Prime Minister. I would have been 2 or 3 trips back. And he had come down. He had a town hall at the North Long Island High School, 1 o'clock. Then we drove to NGM Major for 5 o'clock. Had another town hall. And, he explained to the people what the intent of the increase was, the state that we were in. And then he ended it, and this is what I found to be quite stirring. He asked them, so now, do you see why we had to increase VAT? And do you agree that we should have increased VAT? And they were all in like, yes, at the two locations. And so, given that and given the explanation, I think what having a Prime Minister come in and explain the situation does is it makes it more palatable. You're able to understand it a little better. People come to accept it a little better as well.
But let me ask you another question in terms of real dollars terms. Like, for instance, a lot of people on those family islands would have water bills of less than $50 if indeed they're even hooked up to water. Yeah, they would have electricity bills, I imagine, of less than $200. And by the way, the reason why our bills are so high generally is because we subsidize those islands. I'm told by BPL we could have a 10-cent rate in New Providence, but it'll be 80 cents in the out islands. But so how impacted by VAT are they if things like bread basket items, medicine, not that the duty-free on clothing would trickle down somewhere else, but how impacted are they on a day-to-day basis by VAT?
Very impacted. If you think about it, you're talking about islands where the economy is kind of stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, so people don't have a lot of disposable income.
Right.
So when you talk about paying these bills and not having to worry about the VAT component, that's great for
no,
them.
I know that. I'm just saying, but I didn't answer the question properly. In a normal scenario for the average person, the people there are actually positively impacted by the fact that they are not necessarily in the VAT-able category of goods and services, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think the out islands, probably
they're going to fare well.
Yeah, I think it bodes well, and then you throw into that the Family Islands Development Encouragement Act, which allows you to import items duty free,
building materials.
Yeah. That's another major plus. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of benefits. I'm more concerned beyond that side of it with the infrastructural upgrades that is within the budget, that the budget speaks to, capital development. Because here's the thing, Ed, if we put the infrastructure on these islands, persons won't leave these islands as they have been doing. People would return home and build, because if water is there, electricity is there, if an airport is there to bring in that new money and cause that economic stimulus, people coming home. People could build up their island. But when you have a place where there's no water, no airport, hardly any light,
basic infrastructure.
Yeah, the basic infrastructure, people will leave.
Yeah.
How
That's a given,
what is the balance between, and this is, we've talked about this for a while. I have a place in Abaco, and I drive miles and miles and miles, and it's just pine barren. And I think to myself, if left to this present paradigm, it'll be there for 1,000 years. How open are we to saying to people, look, come in, build a city, put some parameters down. You got to put parameters down to say, okay, you've got to make sure, access to Bahamians and Bahamian entrepreneurs and all, whatever the things are. But to allow private sector money from elsewhere to put in these infrastructure and development. How would Long Island? I mean, let's face it. Stella Maris, right, is almost all private, right? In terms of the hotel and even the airport, I think is private. Correct?
No, the runway is government. Okay. The terminal is private. The terminal's private.
But are there investors out there who, if they don't have to go to the red tape of New Providence and can approach? And I want to ask you another question. Could approach the MP and the local town councils. Would there be more potential for inviting and attracting developers in places like Long Island?
Before we talk about the foreigners coming in, though, Ed, first let me say I'm all for less red tape, less bureaucracy. Right. I'm a business person, and I see business. Right. Business only flourishes when there's not the headache and the loops and the hoops.
When those who produce do not have to ask permission from those who don't.
Exactly. But what I want to say to you is this, Ed. We have to first focus on our people. And one of the major prongs to causing it to be developed, like development of, let's say, the pine barrens and so on, is land reform. If I know that piece of generation land or a piece of commonage property that I was sitting on, right, or built on, I can now go to the bank and borrow against. And I could build a house, or I could use that money, if I have a house on it, get an appraisal, get some money out of the equity, and then establish a business. That goes a long way.
Oh, yeah, but that's generation land. I'm not even talking about that. That's
the key to causing the Bahamas to move out. The government divesting of crown land and allowing Bahamians to purchase plots at a cheap rate. You'll see serious development.
Listen, I go further.
Then we get to the foreign side.
Listen, when I talk about fire, I was talking about more major thing. I go to even more radical thing like that. I think that the Bahamas has the capacity. You know, when I was in college and I was studying political science and I was trying to make a comparison between the Bahamas and the United States, one of the things that I saw that was very common was the capacity we had to allow for pioneering, okay? For people to leave New Providence and claim a stake, so to speak, right? Yeah. And you know what that was based on in the States? That they would go in Oklahoma and say, come on down and grab your 10 acres. That's all. No valuation. Just pick 10 acres. Now, the question is, we have more than enough land to give every man, woman, and child in this country a 10-acre stake. Okay?
The Crown has quite a bit of land. I must admit.
And millions.
When you look at Andros, for example.
Oh.
I mean, just to fly over Andros and you see this huge land. It's just landmass. And much of it is unoccupied. I remember writing a column some years ago encouraging government to relocate COB proper, the main campus, to Andros, and to create a college town in Andros, inviting colleges from all over,
marine biology,
and incentivizing exactly. What that would do is immediately boost the economy of Andros. You see people building apartments for the kids to live in, and so on and so forth.
Well, again, going back to this idea of giving land to, if you got 300,000 Bahamians, I know we got more than 300,000 acres. Okay, even if you said give an acre to everyone. Just give it to them. Just plot it out and say, here, this is your stake. You got to put parameters, like you can't just go and sell it to anyone, speculate. But, if you have a viable, you want to build a house on it for yourself, to create an Airbnb or, whatever. But that's how you divest. You don't have to sell it to them. You didn't pay for it. You're not losing anything. Maybe pay the registration fee or something like that. Okay? But let's create this sense of pioneering where you say, claim a stake. We first come, first serve. We grid out the land. We plan out the land.
Let me say this to you. Let me tell you how much of a capitalist I am. I do have a socialist side as well in terms of when I say socialist, let me rephrase that. A liberal side, I should say, in terms of the social aspect. But in terms of capitalism, for one, I don't believe that there should be moratoriums on many things. Bus, jitney license,
you're wrong on that.
Taxis.
You're wrong on that.
And so on. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why, Ed.
Because I waited up for 20 years.
Just hold on. Let me tell you why.
Tell me why.
Because the creme would always rise. Okay? The best will survive and the others will phase out. Okay?
I know what you're saying because you're agreeing with me in principle on the land thing. But here's the problem. There's supply and demand. I've been working in the taxi and transportation business through my industry for 20 years. The problem we have is because there's too much supply without the demand. And so you'll have them, but you know what? You'll have a big hustle. It'll be chaotic.
Then set the standard, Ed. There has to be standards and regulations that you must meet, right? So you meet this threshold, right? You can get a plate. You can get
one of those
this and
thresholds is which politician you know.
No, it shouldn't be like that. It should be, but it should be standardized, right? You must have X amount of whatever.
Yeah, right? but you can't even. Let's suppose 100,000 people meet that criteria. Yeah. You
then
still
what?
can't have that.
100,000 people are not going to.
No, but you know what I'm saying.
And guess what, Ed? You're limited to one.
Yeah, but even then, listen, I'm telling you, trust me on this one. We can disagree on this one. Right now, and who else will disagree with you? All the fellows who drive in taxi. Because they're waiting 6 hours, 4 hours in line for a customer. That isn't how taxis work.
That too needs to change.
Why?
That system. Okay?
How else are they gonna get
That's
the car?
but it isn't even a system. You need to put a system in
No,
place.
they have a rotation.
Even if you think of busing, right? You go anywhere in the world. I go to Holland. The bus say they're gonna be here at 8 a.m.
That's an amalgamated system.
Go there at 8:01.
Right, but that's an amalgamated system
that's a good
owned by one entity,
mm-hmm.
whether it's a state or a group of people. Right now we have 600 or 700 different.
No. Ed, these even the taxis in the UK and even in Europe and buses, they're not owned by one particular group.
They own the companies.
They are companies and entities that own these, but they all abide by set regulations. There are regulators who make sure that process is followed. We just don't follow process in the Bahamas.
But those plates, first of all, are valued, so you have to buy them. So that's the number one criteria. You have to buy the plate. A plate in New York City costs about $100,000. They're valued at that. You can go get a lot. That's what your boy Cohen in trouble for. Thing. Trust me, it's a long. We're gonna have a different discussion on that.
I spoke to you about standardizing. If we have to put a certain value, for example, on a plate, I'm not saying 100,000. Right. But let's sit down and find what is the standard.
Yeah.
How can we standardize? Looking at the world.
You and I will disagree, but I can tell you, you're not gonna have 80 or 90 or 100 or 1,000 plates in Long Island because you would not have any business. Until you get to the point, you lift the moratorium as you need, as the supply, as the demand exists. But let's talk about another thing.
We need to also implement across the board better standards.
No, I don't have any disagreement.
We need to regulate across the board. And I'm not talking about bureaucracy because some people can confuse regulation with bureaucracy. It's two distinct things.
It's regulatory in terms of meeting certain criteria,
correct,
enforcing the law, etc.
Correct.
Now, before we run out of time, I want to talk to you about another thing. Local government. Now, I want to talk to you very briefly on the fact that local government is coming to New Providence, and it's probably going to take the form of a much stronger structure that hopefully in the next couple of years, and I'm only saying this because I'm on a committee, will trickle back to the family islands for them to have a much stronger structure. But I want to ask you, from your perspective, how do you see a stronger local government coexisting with a central government? You're an MP, for instance, okay, of a constituency. If you have a stronger local government, how do you coexist? How do you not feel as if one is taking the other's territory? My view is that, of course, you're focused more on national issues.
Correct.
They're focused more on local issues. Correct. What's your perspective?
I very much agree with your view. It's like in the U.S. I guess I would be the equivalent of a senator there.
Or a congressman.
No, a congressman would be.
Well, no, because the local government gets more.
Right. But a congressman would be a particular area
district,
in a place.
Right.
I have the entire place, so it would be like a senator. But they also, in the States, that would be at the federal level, at the national level per se. You have a mayor and so on at the municipal level. They collect their own taxes, they implement bylaws, and so on. I think to have it that way, that would work. And to keep these things localized, they can deal with their little road patching and little minor things. And anything above that, it goes onto the national level.
I think it should go a little further, right? So, for instance, a place like Long Island, if an investor comes in there and says, look, I want to build a 200-room hotel. Okay, I'm going to do the marketing, I'm going to do everything, but it's my money. I want to build a 200-room hotel. Let's suppose, because the way it should be in terms of land reform as well, is that the settlement or the district should have a radius of land that they control.
Yes.
Someone wants, it just says pretend it's private land. They buy the private land. That person shouldn't have to come to New Providence to get an HOA to decide to build a hotel. All they have to do is comply with building standards. Okay, if there's an environmental issue, deal with the environmental assessment. But it should be the people of that community that first decide whether they want that person there or not.
The local committees. I totally agree. And I also believe, and I've said this before, I've said this on the campaign trail as well, that in terms of local government on the islands, the islands should be allowed to retain at least 50% of the taxes collected. Okay? As it stands, most of it goes to Nassau. So let's say Long Island, for example, let's say you get $12 million a year. Well, our budget for local government is $640,000 for the year, right? And Long Island local government reps always complain about it, and this has been going on for years.
Mm-hmm.
If we send $12 million, for example, to Nassau, and we retain 6 of that, that's more than enough to handle infrastructure. Central government wouldn't have to worry so much.
In a pure local government, central government form, all property tax would stay in the local, and then there would be a sharing of the other taxes. But what's even more important is this: if you are able to conduct your own affairs, to compete, islands should be competing with each other in a local government environment. To compete, you say, you know what, we're going to invite local investment here. If you want to come here and build a sisal factory or whatever, I'm just making up something. No property tax. But you're going to supply 100 jobs. Maybe after 10 years you start to pay property tax or whatever the deal is. We're going to attract you here. And then what happens is your property tax pool and your tax pool is now building up, right? There is no reason for the Commissioner of Police to have to send policemen down to Long Island. If you are raising the tax revenues through what? Speeding tickets or traffic offenses. I mean, not that you got a lot of stuff going on, but they're going to have it. But a lot of people get hurt on those islands because people speed on those roads. If you're able
we're not going to rely on traffic offenses.
No. But it's all.
It'll be looking about $500 a year.
No, but that's only because right now they enforce. If you enforce it, listen, you could have Gibsons, and if you pass through my town and you speed, that's my money. But the point I'm making is this, right? You can fund very easily district police. People who answer to the mayor of that town, who deal with things like litter, who deal with things like noise concerns, and things like that. The central government then comes in to deal with murders and armed robberies and capital offenses. We got to get away from this centralized thing, man.
And the one thing you and I consider we absolutely agree on is that local government and the delineation between the two.
Right.
Okay, as a family island boy, I know how important it is to have a strong local government system, and where they have that money's on hand.
You can patch your roads. You can put up your street signs.
Exactly.
You can fix your dock.
Correct. Those minor concerns.
Yeah.
They go before the local committee.
Well, listen, man, it's always been a pleasure. We haven't had a lot of time to talk. We'll talk more about this taxi thing one of these days, because I can assure you, you're talking to the wrong person.
Whenever I come back, we'll row about that.
Yeah, because you're talking to the wrong person.
I
know, you know what? Because I'm a full capitalist too.
Yeah.
But when we talk about this one, you can be there, and me and the taxi boys can be over here. We'll be on one o'clock.
Let me just bring another capitalist in.
All right, man. Thanks for coming by, Rogan. We'll see you on Thursday.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, folks.